On the evening of January 17, 2026, a sense of routine filled homes across the Philippines. Families gathered for dinner, children finished their homework, and televisions flickered with the familiar faces of nightly news anchors. Suddenly, the regular programming was interrupted by a jarring alert, a special report that would soon grip the entire nation. The anchor's grave tone was unmistakable, cutting through the usual chatter and background noise. With measured words, she announced a revelation that would change the course of Philippine history. Massive, previously untapped oil and gas reserves had been confirmed within the country's territorial waters. The magnitude of the news was immediately apparent, and the anchor's voice trembled with the weight of what she was about to share. Across the archipelago, the announcement stunned the nation into silence. In city apartments and rural homes alike, people froze mid-conversation, their eyes glued to the screen. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as the implications of the discovery began to sink in. Maps and seismic data flashed across television screens, showing swirling colors and highlighted zones beneath the sea. The message was simple, yet profound. This was a discovery of historic scale, one that could alter the destiny of the Philippines for generations to come. Initial estimates suggested that the reserves were vast, rivaling those found in some of the smaller Middle Eastern countries. The numbers were staggering: billions of barrels of oil and trillions of cubic feet of natural gas, enough to power the nation for decades and potentially transform it into a major energy exporter. Outside Malacañang Palace, the seat of government, reporters and TV crews scrambled for answers. Microphones jostled for position as officials hurriedly prepared statements, aware that the eyes of the nation, and soon, the world, were upon them. In the bustling streets of Manila, jeepneys crawled through traffic as radios blared the breaking news. In remote villages, where television signals were weak, people huddled around static-filled radios, straining to catch every word. The story spread like wildfire, uniting Filipinos from all walks of life in a moment of collective anticipation. Social media erupted within minutes. Hashtags like One Pinoy Oil and Qatar Philippines Future trended instantly, as millions of Filipinos took to their phones to share their reactions, hopes, and questions. Memes, infographics, and passionate debates filled timelines, reflecting a nation abuzz with possibility. Overnight, locations such as Reed Bank, the Sulu Sea, and the Cotabato Basin became household names. Families pointed at maps on their TV screens, tracing the outlines of these distant places that now promised to shape their future. The government moved quickly to address the nation. At a hastily arranged press conference, officials urged caution, emphasizing the need for careful planning and responsible management. Yet they could not hide their excitement, promising a new era of energy independence, economic growth, and national pride. For ordinary Filipinos, the news was deeply personal. Many saw hope for lower electricity bills, more stable power, and affordable fuel. Street vendors, jeepney drivers, and office workers alike imagined a future where energy shortages and high prices were things of the past. The broadcast concluded with interviews of stunned, hopeful citizens. Some expressed disbelief, others cautious optimism, but all shared a sense that something monumental had just occurred. Their voices echoed the dreams and anxieties of a nation on the brink of transformation. As dawn broke over Manila, the city awoke with a renewed sense of purpose. People started their day with fresh hope, discussing the news with neighbors, colleagues, and friends. The air was thick with anticipation, as if the entire country was holding its breath, waiting to see what would come next. Across the nation, crowds gathered in public squares and community centers, eager to share their thoughts and dreams. The sense of unity was palpable as Filipinos from all backgrounds came together, united by the promise of a brighter future. Yet, beneath the excitement, there was also a sense of gravity. People paused in their daily routines, reflecting on the weight of possibility and the challenges that lay ahead. The discovery brought hope, but also questions about stewardship, fairness, and the nation's ability to rise to the occasion. This was more than just a headline or a fleeting news story. It was a seismic shift in the national consciousness. Newspapers, radio hosts, and online commentators all grappled with the enormity of what had happened, debating its implications late into the night. As night fell, city lights glowed brighter than ever, and families gathered in their homes, quietly reflecting on the day's events. The country's future had changed in a single evening, and everyone knew that life would never be quite the same. Around the globe, international news outlets picked up the story. World leaders, investors, and analysts watched closely as the Philippines faced its greatest opportunity yet. The eyes of the world were now fixed on this island nation, waiting to see how it would shape its destiny in the wake of a discovery that had truly shaken a nation. The next morning, as the first rays of sunlight touched the bustling streets of Manila, a palpable sense of optimism swept across the Philippines. The city, usually alive with the hum of daily struggles, now buzzed with a new kind of energy, one fueled by hope and anticipation. People hurried to work, but their steps seemed lighter, their faces brighter, as if the entire nation was holding its breath for what was to come. Headlines screamed of hidden trillions and a new oil giant rising from the archipelago. Newspapers, radio stations, and social media feeds were ablaze with talk of the country's newfound fortune. The story of the oil discovery dominated every conversation, from the grandest boardrooms to the humblest street corners. In markets and coffee shops, talk of barrels and sovereign wealth funds replaced the usual gossip about celebrities and politics. Strangers became friends as they speculated about what this windfall could mean for their families, their communities, and the nation as a whole. Even jeepney rides were filled with excited chatter, as everyone tried to imagine the possibilities. Even in energy-poor Mindanao, hope surged like never before. Business owners dreamed of expanding their shops, hiring more workers, and finally breaking free from years of hardship. Students imagined studying by electric light every night, no longer limited by brownouts or kerosene lamps. Farmers listened to radio updates in their fields, daring to hope for better roads, irrigation, and a brighter future for their children. Overseas Filipinos from Dubai to Toronto shared the news with pride and excitement. For years, they had sacrificed time with loved ones to support families back home. Now they envisioned a future where working abroad was a choice, not a necessity. A future where they could return home to opportunity and prosperity. Balikbayan boxes were packed with extra joy as families celebrated together across continents. Government officials called for unity and responsibility, urging every Filipino to work together for the nation's future. The stock market soared to record highs, investors cheered, and economists debated how best to manage the coming wealth. For the first time in years, political rivals set aside differences, united by the promise of a better tomorrow. For a moment, the nation was united by the promise of prosperity. In homes, schools, and plazas, people celebrated together, waving flags and sharing dreams. Children drew pictures of oil rigs and Philippine flags, imagining a future filled with hope and opportunity for all. The question was no longer if the Philippines would rise, but how soon. As night fell and city lights glowed brighter than ever, the archipelago stood on the edge of a new era, united by hope and the promise of a brighter future. The scale of the discovery was staggering. Reed Bank alone held over 5 billion barrels of oil and 55 trillion cubic feet of gas, 20 times Malampaya's reserves. The Sulu Sea and Cotabato Basin promised even more. The total value ran into the trillions, enough to transform the nation's infrastructure, healthcare, and education. The Philippines could become a net energy exporter, ending its costly dependence on imports. A sovereign wealth fund could secure prosperity for generations. The discovery was a game changer. The challenge, how to turn this potential into reality. The clock was ticking. For decades, Filipinos have struggled with unreliable, expensive power. Every night, millions of families brace themselves for sudden blackouts, lighting candles and hoping the electricity will return soon. In the heart of Manila, the city's skyline often fades into darkness, a stark reminder of the nation's ongoing energy crisis. These power interruptions disrupt daily life, making even simple tasks a challenge. High electricity rates burden families and businesses, stifling growth. Small businesses, already operating on thin margins, are forced to close early or cut back on staff. Families pore over their utility bills, making tough choices between paying for power or other essentials. The high cost of electricity limits opportunities, discourages entrepreneurship, and keeps many trapped in a cycle of poverty. In the provinces, blackouts are routine. Hospitals rely on noisy, expensive generators to keep life-saving equipment running. Students struggle to study by candlelight, their education hampered by the lack of reliable lighting. Farmers watch helplessly as their harvests spoil in dark, powerless storage rooms, losing months of hard work and income. Teachers improvise lessons, but the lack of electricity makes learning difficult for everyone. Billions are spent annually on imported fuel, draining the economy. Every year, the Philippines sends vast sums of money overseas to pay for oil and gas, weakening the peso and limiting funds for schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. This dependence on foreign energy keeps the nation vulnerable to global market swings. Global price shocks hit hard, making the nation vulnerable. When oil prices spike, transportation costs soar, food prices rise, and families feel the pinch in every aspect of daily life. Jeepney drivers, commuters, and small business owners all struggle to keep up with the relentless increases. Investors hesitate, jobs are lost, and dreams of industrialization stall. Factories close their doors, unable to compete with cheaper, more reliable power abroad. Unemployment rises, and the hope for a thriving modern economy slips further away. Energy poverty is a brake on progress. It holds back children's education, limits economic opportunities, and keeps entire communities in the dark, both literally and figuratively. The country's dependence on foreign energy has been a costly trap, locking the Philippines into a cycle of high prices and limited growth. Calls for reform grow louder as more people demand a better future. The new discovery could finally break these chains. With the promise of local energy resources, there is hope for lower costs, more jobs, and a brighter future for all Filipinos. The nation stands ready for change. As the sun rises on a new era, Filipinos look forward to a time when energy poverty is a thing of the past, and the country can finally realize its full potential. The Philippines need only look to its neighbors for inspiration. Malaysia's oil wealth built highways, schools, and a global energy giant. Brunei's small population enjoys cradle-to-grave welfare, all from oil and gas. Kuwait turned desert oil into a sovereign wealth fund for future generations. These nations show how natural resources, managed wisely, can transform a country. The Philippines now has the missing piece: domestic energy. The examples are no longer dreams, they are blueprints. With vision and discipline, the nation can join Asia's most prosperous. The time to act is now. The biggest obstacle lies in the West Philippine Sea, where China's claims overlap the richest reserves. Despite a Hague ruling in its favor, the Philippines faces intimidation and investor hesitation. Internal challenges, corruption, weak institutions add to the risk. Without transparency and good governance, oil wealth could become a curse. The country must attract reputable partners and create a stable legal framework. National unity and strategic resolve are essential. The stakes have never been higher. The Malampaya gas field, once the backbone of Philippine energy, is running dry. Its depletion threatens blackouts, soaring prices, and economic turmoil. The nation faces an urgent crisis. Replacement is needed now. Developing new reserves takes years. The work should have started already. Failure means a return to the dark days of the 1990s. The new discoveries are not just an opportunity, they are a lifeline. The race against time is on. The nation cannot afford to wait. The Philippines must act strategically. Focus first on uncontested reserves in the Sulu Sea and Mindanao to build capacity and credibility. Overhaul energy policy to attract top-tier investors with fair, stable terms. Guarantee contract sanctity to rebuild trust. Forge alliances with friendly nations for security and expertise. Joint ventures can transfer vital technology and skills to Filipinos. Most crucial, establish a transparent, independent sovereign wealth fund before revenues flow. Invest in infrastructure, education, and healthcare for long-term benefit. Learn from others' mistakes, avoid the resource curse. The path to prosperity is clear, but discipline is essential. The Philippines stands at a crossroads. Beneath its seas lies a treasure that could end poverty and fuel a new era. But opportunity is not destiny, it's a choice. Geopolitical risks and internal challenges loom large. The hopes of millions rest on wise, courageous leadership. Will the nation seize this moment or let it slip away? The world is watching. The people are waiting. The time to act is now.